Christmas morning smelled like cinnamon, lies, and tension baked into red velvet curtains. My fiancé, Cole, had never seen my childhood photos. So my mom pulled out the old leather albums. Gold trim, dusty corners, a relic of a past I barely spoke of. He flipped through the pages slowly, smiling until he wasn't. Page 7. The smile died.
He leaned in, blinked.
Then again, slower. And then, don't you see it? His voice dropped to a whisper.
Tight.
Urgent. I laughed nervously. See what? His hand trembled as he pointed.
Her. There.
And there. And there again. It was my mom. Same coat. Same earrings. In different photos. At different locations. Years apart. Always in the background. Always watching someone else.
Not me.
5 hours later, I called a number I should have never had. But I did. And when the operator answered, Central Intelligence, name and contact, I just said, my name is Emery Quinn, and I think my entire life was staged. If you think this ends with cold turkey and a family fight, stay with me. Because what happens when your mother isn't who she says she is? When the people who raised you weren't meant to love you, but monitor you? When the man you're about to marry spots something trained agents missed for years? I used to think memory was a scrapbook. Now I know it's a puzzle. One someone didn't want me solving. So I went digging. And what I found, it wasn't just betrayal. It was protocol. The kind written in red ink. The kind that disappears if you blink too hard. The woman on the other end of the CIA line didn't ask many questions. Just two. Is your mother's name Margaret Quinn? And how long have you known? Not if. How long? She asked for a safe callback number. Then disconnected. Cole paced behind me, hands in his hair. Emery, we shouldn't have called them. But something in his eyes said we had to. Something beyond panic. Almost memory. He pointed again to the photo. My dad. That's him.
Look.
At the fair in '94. But Emery, he said he'd never been to Ohio. There she was. My mom. 2 feet behind his father. I was 2 years old. He wasn't even supposed to be born yet. I stared at the page like it might blink first. It didn't. I ran to the attic. Pulled every album down. Cross-referenced timestamps. Outfits. Background faces. And there she was again. In a crowd at a protest Cole's mother once attended. At a graduation ceremony for a school none of us had gone to. Even in a blurry background at a hospital in Denver, the day I was born. That night, I confronted her. Why are you in these photos? Mom didn't blink. Oh, honey, I used to travel a lot for work. She said it like she was explaining away dry cleaning. What work? She paused. Then, I told you, I was in logistics. Cole whispered. Emery, say the phrase. I stared at her. The phrase. The one the operator told me on the phone. The sky over Cyprus is clear today. Her wine glass slipped. Shattered on tile. She stood. Backed away like I had grown claws. You don't understand what you've done. I stepped forward. Oh, I think I'm beginning to. Because my childhood, the bedtime stories, the schools, the moves, the strict routines, it wasn't parenting. It was positioning. And now, whatever my mother had protected for decades was about to collapse. Not because I was careless. Because I was finally curious. She didn't sleep that night. I heard her pacing through the vents. One room to another, floorboards creaking like nerves cracking. By morning, she was gone. Not a note. Not a trace. Only thing left? Her red lipstick smeared across the bathroom mirror like a target. I called the CIA line again. Gave them my name.
The voice was different this time. Male.
Flat.
Direct.
Ms. Quinn, your mother's designation was Omega 9. She hasn't been active in 2 decades. Designation. I echoed. Classified surveillance. Deep civilian embed. Long term. I froze. You're telling me my entire life was a cover mission? A pause. Then, it's more complicated than that. She didn't just monitor. She protected. From what?
They wouldn't say.
But when I hung up, Cole was already at the kitchen table. Laptop open. Tabs everywhere. He had found an old agency leak. A document buried in a forum, scrubbed now. But not before he screenshotted it. Codename, Threshold. Operation parameters. Secure the asset under domestic cover. Monitor emotional anomalies and pattern shifts. Neutralize exposure if detected. Asset.
Me.
I backed away from the screen. My throat felt like a locked file. She was assigned to me, I whispered. Cole turned the screen. The last line of the document. If psychological development exceeds baseline markers, initiate phase 2. What's phase 2? I asked. But I already knew. It meant removal. I wasn't raised. I was managed. And now that I was asking questions, I wasn't just off script. I was a threat. Cole looked at me, trembling. Emery, did your mom ever take you to the doctor? Only her friend, Aunt Leah. Ever meet her outside appointments? I shook my head.
No.
Cole opened another file. Government registry. There was no Leah. Just a woman named Elia Mendez. Former behavioral analyst. CIA. Deceased, 2012. But I saw her last year.
Alive.
Laughing. Pouring tea. Nothing about my life was mine. And somewhere out there, a woman with my mother's eyes was preparing for phase 2.
We didn't pack.
We just ran. Cole drove. I stared at the mirror, waiting for a car to follow that never came. But the silence was worse. Because somewhere out there, a woman I once called Mom was deciding whether I lived or disappeared. We stopped at a roadside diner 2 states away. I ordered pancakes. The waitress smiled.
Poured coffee.
But her sleeve rode up just enough to show something. A faded tattoo, the same one my mom had on her ankle. A tiny triangle. 3 dots inside. I dropped my fork. Cole noticed too. We left cash and walked out fast. No words. Back in the car, I whispered. She's not working alone. He nodded slowly, then said something that chilled me. Emery, what if your mom didn't disappear? I turned. What do you mean? She's always 3 steps ahead. What if she let you find that phrase? What if this is phase 2?
My head spun.
Had she staged her own flight? Lured me into movement?
But why?
We checked into a motel under false names. Burner phones. Curtains drawn. And that's where I found it. In the lining of my old backpack. The one she gave me senior year. A tiny chip, sealed in fabric. Cole hacked it. 1 file. Encrypted. He cracked the code in an hour. It was a video. Black and white. Fuzzy sound. A hospital room. And a woman. Younger, crying, holding a baby. Then my mother's voice off screen. We'll keep her safe. This is the only way. The woman sobbed. Signed a paper.
Cole paused the frame. Zoomed.
My birth certificate. But not my mom's name. Angela Harper. 23.
Student.
No criminal record. My real mother. I wasn't just a protected asset. I was a stolen one. And now, someone had started burning the paper trail. Because just hours after that video ended, the diner we visited burned down. And my fake name had been used at a gas station 2 hours later. Someone was tracing our route, playing with us, or warning us. We drove through the night. Highways blurred. Phone off. No music. Just fear pacing between us. Cole pulled off onto a dirt road somewhere in Virginia. An old contact, a safe house from his mother's past. He'd never seen it, but she told him once, if the world ever flips, find the silo. It was buried behind pine trees. Rust-red hatch. Coded lock. The keypad blinked when we approached. He typed 6 digits. The name of the woman in the video. Angela.
Click.
The door creaked open. Inside. Cold concrete, low lights, a single desk. And sitting behind it was the woman from the video. Not a memory.
Alive.
She stood. Older now.
Shaking.
I whispered. Angela? She nodded. I never thought you'd find me. Not after what they did. I took a step forward. My knees almost gave out. Why, oh, why did you give me up? Her eyes filled. Voice cracked. They told me it was temporary. They said you'd be in danger. That I wasn't equipped to protect you. They showed me files, photos, said I'd lose custody anyway. I shook my head.
No.
She raised me like I was her project. I was her assignment. Angela walked to a drawer, pulled out a folder. Inside were reports.
Dates.
Surveillance logs. My first steps. My school essays. Notes from my therapy sessions. All observed. Analyzed.
Filed.
Angela's hands trembled. I started getting pieces of it. Years later, someone inside, they tried to leak me the truth. Cole asked, "Who?" Angela stared hard. Her name was Leah. She was supposed to be your behavioral analyst, but she went rogue. She couldn't take it anymore. She started feeding me scraps. But she died, I said. Angela's voice went quiet.
No.
She disappeared. The obituary was a fake. The same way mine was once. My breath caught. You mean? Angela nodded. She's alive. And she's waiting for you. She said you'd come. Where? Angela handed me a single key. Old. Rusted. Labeled. Mirror House. She said if you ever wanted to stop running, you have to go where it all started. I looked at Cole. He nodded once. And in that moment I knew. We weren't running anymore. We were about to walk straight into the truth. Mirror House wasn't on any map. Angela gave us rough coordinates, deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains, past where the roads had names, past where phone signals dared to go. It took us 2 days. When we arrived, it didn't look like a house. It looked like a memory that had tried to erase itself. A weathered cabin with mirrored glass windows, each one reflecting the forest so perfectly, it felt invisible. I stepped onto the porch. The floorboards didn't creak. It was too precise for that. Cole whispered, "You sure about this?" I nodded. If I die today, I want the truth first. The door opened before I could knock. A woman stood there, salt gray hair in a tight braid, no makeup, sharp eyes. "Emery Quinn," she said. Her voice hadn't aged. It was her.
Leah. Alive.
"I've been waiting," she said. She let us in. Inside, nothing decorative. Just metal filing cabinets, sealed crates, an old IBM terminal humming softly. She gestured to the walls. Dozens of pinned photos. Me at different ages. With my mother. With others I didn't recognize. But then I saw her.
Angela.
In the background of at least a dozen shots. Sometimes blurry. Sometimes clear. She'd been trying to stay close. Without being seen. Leah sat down. Folded her hands. "You weren't just a project. You were an experiment." My stomach turned. Experiment. She nodded. After the Berlin protocols failed, the agency ran something called Origin Draft. It was based on the idea that some children, if raised under observation, could become adaptive architects. People who influence systems without realizing it. Cole muttered, "Social engineering."
Leah looked at me.
"Your mind is what they wanted, but your heart got in the way." I whispered, "So she was never my mom?" "She was your handler," Leah said. "Then who am I really?" Leah reached into her desk, pulled out a birth certificate. Angela's name. My real birth date. But under name, not Emery.
Eden.
"Your real name is Eden Harper," Leah said. "And the moment you reclaimed it, Phase 3 began." I froze. Phase 3. That's when the asset wakes up. She turned her screen toward me. Live footage. My old house. And stepping out of a black SUV was my mother. She hadn't aged a day. Margaret Quinn, or whatever her name really was, stood outside my old home like it was still hers. She wore a trench coat. Gloves. No expression. But her eyes scanned everything. Every window. Every door. "She's not looking for you," Leah whispered. "She's looking for what you left behind." Cole stared at the monitor. "That's not a woman. That's a directive wrapped in skin." I watched in silence. Until she looked directly at the camera. I flinched. "She sees us," I whispered. Leon nodded grimly. She's telling you you're next. I stood, heart pounding like footsteps down a hallway. Then I'm done watching. I pulled the key from my pocket, the one Angela gave me. Mirror House wasn't the end. It was the door to it. Leah handed me a single black envelope. Inside, a flash drive, a security override code,
And a note in messy handwriting.
finish what we couldn't. You were never the subject. You were the failsafe. My hands trembled. Leah continued. They built you to comply. But you didn't. You loved. You questioned. You chose. That's why she's coming for you now. Not to erase you. Cole whispered. To rewrite you. The files on the drive? Blueprints. Of my school. My home. Every system I ever trusted. Everything had been designed. Even my childhood friendships planted. Teachers? Screened. Dates? Vetted. But something changed when I met Cole.
He wasn't part of the plan.
That's when the pattern broke. That's when I woke up. Leah looked at me one last time. If you want to end it, there's only one place left to go.
She drew a circle on the map.
The annex. The buried archive beneath CIA training grounds, where failed missions went to be forgotten. That's where the original Eden file was stored. Where Angela first resisted. Where Leah defected. And where Margaret was made. We packed. We left Mirror House before dawn.
Leah stayed behind.
I hugged her. She whispered in my ear, don't become their blueprint. Become their error. We drove south. And when we reached the gate marked NO entry, trespassers will be prosecuted. Cole turned to me and asked, are you sure you're ready to see the first page of your life? I said,
No.
but I'm ready to close the last. The annex sat beneath a forgotten foundation, a decommissioned outpost, swallowed by earth and silence. We entered through a rusted hatch. Code from Leah's note opened the first lock. Cole bypassed the second. Beyond the steel doors, darkness. But it wasn't empty. It was humming. A server wall lined the left side, blinking green. Old processors. Dusty terminals. Files no one dared delete. At the center of the room, a single chair, facing a monitor already on, waiting for me. I stepped closer. The screen flickered, then bloomed into life. A video. My mother sat in front of the lens. Not composed. Not armed. Just tired. If you're watching this, Eden, then I'm either gone, or you've finally outpaced me. She inhaled sharply. You were never meant to be what they made you. You were supposed to be a safeguard, a mirror to their methods. But I broke protocol. I taught you how to feel. Her voice cracked. I tried to raise a tool, but you became a person. I glanced at Cole. Tears had reached his chin. She continued. When you start this upload, every copy of your file, the programming, the pattern scripts, the observation logs, will erase. You'll vanish from their system. For real this time. I turned to the terminal. Cole inserted the drive. Are you ready? He whispered. I paused. Looked around. At the machines that had dictated my fate. At the chair I once metaphorically lived in. Watched, coded, predicted. And I said, no more strings. Then I pressed enter. A lower began. The lights dimmed. One by one. Each file marked Equin/Eden.9 disappeared. Like I never existed. Outside, the wind howled. Cole and I emerged at sunrise. He held my hand like it was made of truth. I didn't have a mother anymore. Didn't have a childhood. But I had a name. One no one else wrote for me. Eden Harper. And I walked into the world not as an asset, but as its glitch. The one error they never saw coming. They didn't invite me, but they charged it all to my card. My name is Aaron. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because tell me honestly, have you ever been used so beautifully that they made it look like kindness? The betrayal didn't explode all at once. It dripped slowly. First, I noticed the charge. $3,200, Party Poppers Events. I blinked. What was that? I called the number. The woman on the line was cheerful.
Yes.
Rooftop baby shower? Gorgeous balloon wall, Themed treats, DJ, the works. Paid in full under Aaron Caldwell's card. You've got style, girl. My heart dropped. I hadn't booked a shower. I hadn't even been invited to one. I called my mom. She answered on speaker. Laughter in the background. Aaron, now's not a good time. We're still cleaning up confetti. Mom, what's Party Poppers events? Why is it on my account? She went silent, for a breath too long. Then, oh honey, we thought you'd be uncomfortable at the shower. You've always said babies make you anxious. That was from 5 years ago. After my miscarriage. She kept going. Anyway, we didn't want drama, but we included your name on the thank you card. Isn't that enough? Enough? I stared at the ceiling. My hand trembled. That's when my phone buzzed again. Instagram. My sister-in-law, not even my sister, had posted a photo from the party. My sister was smiling next to a balloon wall that read, "Welcome, baby," holding up a tiny onesie that said, "Auntie's money." The caption? Fully funded by our favorite fool clinking glasses money bag. I froze. The rage didn't come in heat. It came in clarity. I walked to my computer. Logged into my bank. First, froze the card. Second, filed a fraud report. Third, screenshot every charge, every message, every post. They thought I'd stay quiet. Again. Because I always did. When they borrowed my car for emergencies and returned it with an empty tank. When my sister cried that her credit was bad and I co-signed her first apartment and then covered 3 months of missed rent to avoid eviction. When my mom called me selfish for not helping plan the baby shower for the real daughter who deserved joy. But this was a funeral. Not for the money. For the version of me who let this family walk over me. While smiling. I typed one line into the group chat. Fools done funding. Check your inboxes. That was just the beginning. The read receipts came in. One by one. Then silence. Delicious, telling silence. Because guilt has no defense when the receipts are organized. And what they didn't know was that this fool had been saving more than money. I had something else now. Power. And when I used it, they would wish the only thing they lost was my credit card. It always starts with, "You're so generous." But what they mean is, "You don't fight back." That was my role in this family. The fixer, the helper, the invisible ATM with a polite smile and no boundaries. I didn't earn that role. It was assigned. It started small. It always does. When we were kids, if my sister Kelsey broke something, I got in trouble for not watching her. If she cried over homework, I stayed up past midnight doing her assignments, because Aaron's the responsible one. And by the time we hit adulthood, the pattern had already calcified into stone. Kelsey got to be soft, chaotic, adored. I got to be useful. When our dad passed, I was the one who handled all the funeral arrangements. Mom couldn't deal with logistics. Kelsey couldn't face the grief. They both arrived to the church late, wearing designer sunglasses and fresh blowouts, while I stood holding the urn. No one said thank you. That's the phrase I became allergic to. "You're so good at managing things." Which was code for, "We don't have to take responsibility. Aaron will cover it." And I did. For years. Kelsey wanted to start a small candle business. I funded her Shopify subscription and bought her first inventory. When she ghosted her landlord after 2 months, I was the emergency contact they called. I paid. Not because I'm a fool, but because I didn't know I was being conditioned. Mom had a way of guilt-tripping that felt like love. "She's your sister, Aaron. She's going through so much. Money comes and goes, but family's forever." And then the sharpest knife, always disguised as kindness. "I just wish you were more emotionally available like Kelsey. You're so good with numbers, but maybe not so much with people." Translation: You're a calculator, not a daughter. Even in therapy, I used to say things like, "I know they don't mean to hurt me. I just think I'm more sensitive."
But no.
I wasn't more sensitive. I was being drained.
Slowly.
With a smile.
Until now.
Until the balloon wall. The thank you card. The Instagram caption. until they left a $3,200 event on my back without a single warning, then laughed like I was the family's punchline. They didn't invite me to the baby shower because they didn't need me there. They needed my wallet. But here's the twist. They thought they still owned the narrative. That I would stew quietly, maybe cry, maybe ghost them for a week, then eventually come crawling back, like always. They forgot something important. I'm not just a giver. I'm also an analyst. A woman who knows how to track, document, organize, and escalate. A woman who's spent years funding their comfort while building her own stability in silence. And what they didn't know was that the fool had finally learned to itemize everything. And I was just getting started. Because if they wanted a family drama, they just stepped into the wrong episode. I always knew Kelsey was selfish, but I didn't realize how systemic the betrayal was until I opened that folder. Let me back up. After I froze the card and filed the fraud report, I got a call from my credit union's fraud department. A woman named Chelsea walked me through the details. We flagged this charge because it was unusually high and from an event planning vendor, she said. Did you authorize it?
No.
We'll open a case. By the way, it's not the only recent charge that looked odd. Excuse me? There's also a $1,750 baby furniture purchase from Sweet Nest Interiors, same billing address as the party company. Shall I send you a breakdown? I nodded, stunned. When the file hit my inbox, it was like getting punched in the chest. 5 charges. All made in the last 60 days. All sent to addresses that weren't mine.
Crib.
Stroller. Balloon arch custom catering. Even a prenatal spa package. Each one tied to my card. I called the vendor numbers listed. Played dumb. Asked where the purchases were going. And every single one? Shipped to Kelsey's apartment. She didn't just throw a party on my dime. She set up her entire motherhood launch pad using my financial identity like it was a blank check. I called Mom, voice low but tight. You knew about this, didn't you? Don't be dramatic, Aaron. Kelsey was in a tight spot. Her credit's still recovering, and she needed help getting started. Help? You're telling me you helped her steal from me, and then posted a thank you card? She had the audacity to sigh. We just thought you'd come around. You always do. And that was the moment it clicked. They weren't sorry. They were confident. Confident that I'd keep the peace. That I'd carry the weight. That I'd blame myself for overreacting and eventually send another transfer just to move on. Because to them, I wasn't a sister or a daughter. I was a line of credit with a pulse. I checked Kelsey's Instagram again. More photos. More comments. One stood out. OMG, this baby is gonna be so spoiled, face with tears of joy. Can't believe you got Aaron to pay for everything, LOL. That wasn't just betrayal. That was conspiracy. So I messaged Chelsea from the fraud team. I said, update the case. I want to press formal charges. She paused. Even if it's your sister? Especially because it is. Because sometimes justice doesn't come from strangers. It comes from finally holding family accountable. And I knew this wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the system they built, where Kelsey was the golden one, and I was the utility. I was done being useful. It was time to be unforgiving. And it started with an email to my company's legal department, attaching every invoice, every screenshot, every thank you card. I didn't just want to freeze her spending. I wanted to freeze their assumptions that I would stay quiet forever. Because when a fool wakes up, she doesn't beg. She burns the blueprint. You don't recover from a betrayal like this with screaming. You recover by planning. By building a wall so high they'll never see over it again. That night, I opened my family folder, a digital archive I had kept for years. Every receipt, every bank transfer, every text, every email where I'd just help out this once. It was all there, neatly labeled. All those emergencies I paid for, I had proof. I created a spreadsheet. 3 tabs. Tab 1. Unauthorized charges, $7,850. Tab 2. Past loans, $21,400. Tab 3. Emotional labor I'll never be repaid for, priceless. Then I opened a new document. Statement of revocation. I wrote in plain terms that I was rescinding all financial support to my family, effective immediately. No more co-sign leases. No more just until Friday Venmos. No more emergency pickups. No more emotional cleanup. I sent it with one sentence in the email subject line. The fool has retired. Then I printed physical copies. One for my attorney. One for my HR department to notify them of potential fraud in case it impacted my work credit. One that I dropped in the mail to Kelsey, certified and signed for. But the move I'm proudest of? The email I sent to the event planner, the furniture vendor, the spa, and the catering company. These transactions were unauthorized. They are now part of a criminal fraud investigation. Vendors panicked. Refunds began trickling in. Inventory was retrieved. One poor delivery guy showed up at Kelsey's building to repossess a luxury rocking chair. She screamed on Instagram Live. I didn't flinch. Then I filed a small claims case. Not because I needed every penny back, but because principle matters. They mocked me publicly. They used my name, my credit, my trauma as a party theme. So I made sure to upload every Instagram post and story into evidence, especially the one that said, "Fully funded by our favorite fool. Let the judge see what love looks like in my family." But I wasn't just focused on revenge. I was preparing for peace. I started therapy again, this time not to survive them, but to survive me. To rewire the reflex that told me I had to earn love by fixing other people's messes. I changed my phone number, filed a name removal from all joint accounts and old leases. I called my bank and requested that no one, not even a relative, could ever access my accounts without a direct PIN and photo ID. Every lock they left open in me, I changed. Every door I held open, I shut, then bolted, then bricked. The best part? I didn't tell them everything. They didn't know the lawsuit was coming. They didn't know the refunds were reversing party joy into party debt. They didn't know I'd added a clause to my will that excluded anyone who attempted financial abuse, retroactively. They thought this was just a tantrum, but it was a transition. From silence to strategy. From victim to architect. Because I wasn't just done funding their dreams. I was ready to build my own. And they were about to see just how expensive losing me would really be. It started with a text from Kelsey. WTF, Aaron. The rocking chair is gone. They came to my apartment and took it. You're sick. No greeting. No apology. No recognition of what she did. Just rage, the kind entitled people feel when consequences actually show up. I didn't reply. Because by then, the caterer had filed a refund dispute too, and the decorator had posted in a vendor group chat warning others not to accept future bookings from the Caldwell baby shower family. Her words, not mine. Mom called next. Not to apologize,
but to scold me.
You're embarrassing us. You froze the card, now people are saying things. You know how that reflects on our family. I let her talk. I let her huff and puff and circle around her favorite narrative, that everything I did was somehow dramatic or overreacting. Then I spoke.
Mom, you stole from me.
You enabled Kelsey to commit fraud. And you gaslit me when I asked for the truth. You want to talk about embarrassment? Try shame. She went quiet. I hung up. That night, I got the court date for the small claims case. A few days later, I emailed everyone who had contributed to the baby shower. Not family, but Kelsey's friends, her boyfriend's coworkers, her yoga instructor. All the people who had tagged "Thank you, Aaron" 2 hearts under party photos. I simply said, "Hey, I thought you should know this party was thrown using my identity without consent. Charges have been reported. Vendors have been notified. I recommend you save any receipts." Kelsey posted a long sob story to her Instagram stories the next morning. Some people just want to ruin joy. Not everyone wants a baby to be celebrated. It's okay. We'll rebuild without toxic energy. She tagged no one. But everyone knew. Because the same night, the event planner went live on TikTok and said, "We got scammed. Baby shower queen paid with stolen funds. We're not letting this one go quietly." It went viral. The phrase "Balloon Gate" started trending. And the comments? They eviscerated her. Stealing from your own sister? Girl, she said, fully funded by a fool. Turns out she was the only fool. Hope that onesie fits in court. Meanwhile, I walked into my courtroom like I was showing up to collect. The judge reviewed every screenshot, every charge, every message. He glanced at Kelsey and asked, "Do you have proof that she consented to any of these charges?"
Kelsey stammered.
Then she tried to cry. "She's my sister. I thought it was okay. We've always helped each other." I handed the judge one last thing, a spreadsheet of every time I helped her before. Labeled, dated, signed. The judge nodded slowly and said, "You have 30 days to repay every dollar or face further action. This isn't helping. It's fraud." Kelsey didn't look at me once as she walked out. Mom followed her. No one said a word. But I wasn't done. Because the next step wasn't about them. It was about me. I was about to leave the family group chat. But first, I changed the name to The Fool's Last Words. Then I sent a single line. "Next time you want to throw a party, use your own name and your own damn money." And I left.
Just like that.
One click. One exit. No noise. No apology. Just power. You can always tell when people are losing control, not by their shouting, but by their silence. The group chat went dead after I left. No attempts to pull me back. No fake apologies. Just nothing. But outside that silence, their world was unraveling. First came the financial fallout. My fraud claim triggered red flags on Kelsey's credit. She couldn't open a new line or apply for a store card without being flagged for identity misuse. Then, the caterer filed her own lawsuit, small claims like mine but public. The case number was online. People noticed. Local gossip pages picked it up. The story spread fast. Mommy influencer throws shower with stolen card. The comments were ruthless. She scammed her own sister? Didn't she post about loyalty last week? Baby shower grift era grimacing face. Kelsey went dark on social media for the first time in years. But it didn't stop there. I received a message from her landlord. Not sure how he found me, but he said, "Hi Aaron. I believe you were financially responsible for past rent payments at this address. I'd like to confirm that's no longer the case." I wrote back, formally and clearly.
Correct.
I am no longer connected to or liable for anything concerning Kelsey Caldwell. Any arrangements she fails to uphold are solely her responsibility now. He replied 2 words. Understood. Thanks. Within a week, I heard from a mutual friend that Kelsey had missed rent again and that her boyfriend had stepped back to regroup. Then came the email from our mom. Not a call. Not a visit. An email. We may have made some mistakes. But at the end of the day, family is still family. I hope you'll reconsider. We don't have much left to lean on. Things have been hard for Kelsey. No apology. No ownership. Just guilt packaging, disguised as an olive branch.
I didn't reply.
But I did do something else. I posted a simple quote on LinkedIn of all places. It read, "Sometimes the best inheritance you leave behind is knowing your value and refusing to let anyone else discount it." I didn't tag anyone. Didn't explain a thing. But Kelsey's ex-boyfriend liked the post. So did the former event planner. And the real cherry? My therapist messaged me privately and said, "You didn't just draw a boundary. You built a wall with windows so you could watch the peace grow." Because that's exactly what I was doing. I started baking again. Something I hadn't done since before the family chaos swallowed my weekends. I picked up weekend hiking. I took a spontaneous trip to Seattle by myself. I started sleeping without clenching my jaw. And for the first time in my life, I stopped waiting for the next crisis from my family. There was no next crisis because I wasn't answering anymore. And when people say things like, "But that's your mom,"
or
"You only have one sister," I just smile and reply, "You also only have one nervous system, and mine deserves better." Because I didn't burn bridges. I just built a better life on higher ground. And the view? Spectacular. I didn't announce anything. There was no dramatic "I've moved on" post. No grand monologue to the family about finding myself.
I didn't owe them that.
I just started doing what I'd never been allowed to do.
Live. For me.
I moved out of my cramped apartment, the one I'd stayed in because I was always budgeting for someone else's fire. I found a sunlit place with arched windows and hardwood floors that creaked like an old friend whispering, "You're home now." I paid for it in full. No cosigners. No IOUs. No guilt. Every time I opened the door, it reminded me that peace doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes it's just a quiet Sunday morning with the sound of bread rising in the oven, not your blood pressure. I launched a side project I'd been dreaming about for years, a budgeting app for women stuck in toxic financial cycles. I called it The Line because everyone has one, and once you cross it, you don't go back. To my surprise, it took off. An investor reached out after hearing my story, anonymously shared through a friend of a friend. Within 2 months, we were scaling. That old story of the fool who just gave and gave?
Gone.
Now, I was the woman who helped other women cut the rope before they were too tangled to breathe. One day, I got a card in the mail. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. It said, "I miss you. I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared, and you were always strong. I hope you can forgive me one day. Kelsey." Inside was a photo of her baby. I looked at it for a long time. Not with anger. Not even with sadness. Just distance. Like staring at an old room you used to live in before the roof caved in. I didn't throw it out, but I didn't call her either. Some wounds don't need closure. They just need space to scar over and stay closed. Later that night, I lit a candle. The scent was warm vanilla. The brand? One of the same suppliers Kelsey had wanted to use back when she pitched that candle business I funded and then got ghosted on. This time, I wasn't helping her chase a dream. I was living mine. I sat down at my window, looked out over the city, and whispered something just for me. "You did good, Aaron. You didn't deserve any of it. But you turned every bruise into a boundary." I could have stayed angry. Could have chased a bigger revenge. But that would have made them the center of the story again. And they weren't. I was. I always had been. They just kept cropping me out of the picture.
Now?
I was in full frame. And the future, the real one, was mine to color in. 3 months after I left the group chat and the courtroom, the family threw another party. This one? A quiet birthday dinner for my mom. I wasn't invited, but I knew about it because Aunt Valerie accidentally CC'd me on the "What dish are you bringing?" chain. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel a sting. No ache. No hunger for a seat at a table where I was only ever fed crumbs. Instead, I ordered myself sushi. The expensive kind I used to skip to save for family things. I lit one candle, poured one glass of wine, and made one final toast. To family, the kind you choose. The kind that doesn't use you, break you, or rename you the fool. Then I smiled and blew out the candle, not for anyone else, but for the girl I used to be. The one who would have run back after that dinner. Who would have apologized just to make peace. Who would have covered that $17,000 and told herself it was love. She was gone. In her place, a woman who had learned something sacred. That you can mourn a family while building a legacy. That being the outsider is often the only way to finally see clearly. A week later, I got an email from a publication that had picked up my budgeting app story. They wanted to feature me. The headline? From Family ATM to Financial Architect, How One Woman Reclaimed Her Power. I said yes. They asked if I had a closing quote for the article. I did. I wrote. They called me a fool. But I was never foolish. I was just faithful to the wrong people.
Now?
I invest in myself. And the returns? Speak volumes. They loved it. It went viral. I received messages from women around the world, sisters, daughters, even mothers, thanking me for saying what they couldn't say aloud. Some left their own toxic systems after reading it. Some started their own apps. Some just stopped apologizing. But all of them reminded me, this wasn't just a personal story. It was proof. That silence can be broken. That betrayal doesn't get the last word. That healing isn't loud, but it is absolute. And when you've been used up, broken down, and pushed aside, you don't need revenge that screams. You just need a life that whispers, you made it anyway.
So I did.
And every now and then, when I get a message from someone saying, "How did you walk away from everything?" I tell them, because it was never everything if it didn't include me. And that's the real closure. Not their apology. Not their guilt. Not even their loss. But my freedom. Unrented. Unborrowed. Undeniably mine.